Shalom. I'd like to start out by giving all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rekah, Quadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of the Great Millstone, and Shalom to the elect of Israel. This is Thamayim in Atlanta, and I have a Zero Hedge article that says, China says, no one and no force could stop it from taking Taiwan as 13 jets breach Taiwan airspace. And those are big words from China. They view Taiwan as a part of China, kind of similar to how Russia views Ukraine as a part of Russia. And so they're trying to unify that island back to the mainland of China, kind of similar to what Russia's doing in Ukraine. It says, with a close eye on Ukraine developments, China issued another warning clearly aimed at Washington, as well as its major regional partners like Australia, over the weekend, which said any nation supporting Taiwan militarily will suffer the worst consequences. China's Ministry of National Defense further stated no one and no force could ever stop the Chinese military from bringing Taiwan under Beijing's control if it desires. According to Sky News, the tirade was delivered a day after President Xi Jinping engaged in diplomatic talks with Australia in an attempt to repair international relations. And speaking of Russia's war in Ukraine and the question of West-led sanctions from Beijing's eyes, if Sullivan thinks he can persuade China to participate in sanctions against Russia, he will be disappointed. Because Russia and China have developed a bond, and eventually they'll be good allies going against the West. It says the statement was in reaction to Australia's Defence Minister Peter Dutton stating his country stands ready to do whatever we can to deter Chinese aggression towards Taiwan. It also came in the context of Taiwan just approving an extra $8.6 billion for military spending over the next half decade. And that's an example of beating your plowshares into swords and pruning hooks into spears. Much spending will reportedly focus on beefing up the island's missile defenses. On Monday, the 13th, Chinese PLA aircraft breached Taiwan's air defense identification zone, something which at this point has long been a weekly and almost daily occurrence. But Reuters underscores Taiwan is currently in a heightened state of alert due to fears China could use Russia's invasion of Ukraine to make a similar military move on the island. And that's kind of similar to what I was saying, how these situations are very, very similar between Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan. And these are just, wars and rumors of wars. And this in particular being a rumor. It says, though Taipei's government has not reported any unusual Chinese movements, Taiwan's Air Force is regularly scrambled in response to such PLA aerial maneuvers near the island. On Monday, a Taiwanese Mirage 2000 fighter jet crashed into the sea during what was called a routine combat training mission. And that's enough of that. We'll get into the scriptures. It's a pretty short one, so go straight in. I'm going to start out with Psalms 2 and 1. It says, why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing? And this is, not just China, but Russia as well. They're all thinking they're going to gain more territory and gain more economic stability by going to war and taking on more countries, more territory. But it's all vain because Yahweh Shai is coming back very soon, and he's going to take down all the heathen kingdoms. It says he's going to put down all rule, power, and authority. Verse 2, the kings of the earth set themselves, and the rulers take counsel together against the Lord Yahweh and against his anointed, saying, let us break their bands asunder and cast away their cords from us. But this is all to no avail, because prophecy has to play out, and you're not on the good side of it, Moab. And Moab is the Chinese are biblically referred to as Moab. And here's what it says about you, Moab. 2nd Esdras 16:1. Woe be unto thee, Babylon and Asia. Babylon being America, and Asia representing the land and territory of the Moabites, the Elamites, and the Ammonites. And as you see, they're in the same exact sentence as Babylon. And Babylon is to be destroyed. And so you know they've got nothing good coming to them being even mentioned with Babylon. It says, woe be unto thee, Egypt and Syria. Gird up yourselves with cloths of sack and hair. Bewail your children and be sorry, for your destruction is at hand. And it is at hand. All these moves you're making right now is going to lead you into the valley of Yahweh-Shaphat, being Yahweh's judgment, the Father's judgment, the Lord's judgment. And he's going to plead with them there for his people, Israel. Verse 3, a sword is sent upon you, and who may turn it back? A fire is sent among you, and who may quench it? Plagues are sent unto you, and what is he that may drive them away? May any man drive away a hungry lion in the wood? And could you imagine having a lion who's starving, hasn't eaten in 3 weeks, and any man, think of The Rock or Arnold Schwarzenegger or anybody, any giant man, and I still put my money on that lion. It says, or may anyone quench the fire in stubble when it hath begun to burn. And once you set a fire and get it going, and blow on it, give it some air, it's going to keep going. And just like these prophecies of your destruction, Moab, it's going to happen, and very soon. Let's go to Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, and Moab's a Gentile. They are not a part of Israel. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. This is beating those war drums, getting everybody ready for war. And we're seeing that with Russia and Ukraine and China and Taiwan and these various other rumors that we're hearing about right now. The Gentiles are awakening. Verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And this represents taking resources that you would have put into agriculture or people building things and diverting it into military function. As it said in the article, Taiwan just approved an $8.5 billion budget towards military spending. And they could have put that money into agriculture or people building things, but now they're putting it into people destroying things. Let the weak say, I am strong. And China, Moab, they're nuclearly capable. And so they're on the same level as the U.S.'s military. And the U.S. is kind of Babylon has acted as a world police, but they're growing weak, and all the nations see it, they sniff it, they smell it, and there's nobody to stop them from taking Taiwan at this point, especially with their friendship or alliance with Russia. If America got involved, they'd be spread out on two fronts. Even at this point, even with sanctions, they're not going to stop. But we we're at that point of the beginning of sorrows. It's not. This isn't that all-out war yet. This isn't the valley of Yahweh Shaphat yet. And so we're going to go to Mark 13 and 7. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, be ye not troubled. So don't fear these things. For such things must needs be, but the end shall not be yet. Because, not one dot nor tittle shall fall until all things of the law be fulfilled. There's plenty more prophecies that need to take place, like Jacob's trouble and the MOTB and that persecution. And so this isn't it yet, but it's building up. It's building up very nicely. There's been a lot popping off very recently. Verse 8, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be earthquakes in diverse places, and there shall be famines and troubles. And even now, as we're speaking, there's supply shortages, not just here in Babylon, but around the world. There's, inflation occurring, and eventually there might be hyperinflation within Babylon and around the world with the decline of the US dollar. But all these things have to happen. They're happening right now before our eyes. And it says these are the beginning of sorrows. It's just the beginning. It's going to get much, much worse. In Daniel it says it's going to be a time as never was before. And so you could think of all of the terrible times within the earth, like the flood and slavery, the plague, all the various wars. There's been World War II was a huge war. A lot of people died in World War II. But this time that it's coming, it's going to be legendary. It's written about. But with that, I'd like to give all glory, praise, and honor to Yahweh Bahasham, Yahweh Shai Bahasham, Rakah Quadash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of the great millstone, and shalom to the elect of Israel. Shalom.